The car sitting next to me is an Audi e-tron. With options, it costs $78,000 when new. But today, you can buy this exact same car for just over $25,000. And no, this isn't some high mileage example or anything like that. This is a 2022 Audi e-tron Premium Plus with 30,000 miles on the odometer. It's also covered under the basic factory warranty. And for that price, you're getting ventilated leather seats, adaptive air suspension, a panoramic opening glass roof, a Bang & Olufsen sound system, and many more luxury amenities. For the same price as a flaccid Nissan Kicks SV, you can get this true German luxury SUV that's as silent as a Nickelodeon executive during a disposition. On the exterior, this car is aging like Brad Pitt dipped in a ceramic coating, but it depreciated as much as an NFT. In today's video, I'm going to tell you why the Audi e-tron is perhaps the ultimate luxury bargain of all time. With a debut in 2019, the Audi e-tron was the German automaker's first mass-market electric vehicle. The Audi e-tron uses a multi-propulsion platform called the MLB. It's used in a variety of Volkswagen Group products, ranging from the Porsche Cayenne to the Lamborghini Urus. So the e-tron is technically related to Lamborghini, but it was just raised by different parents who went to a liberal arts college and got really intense when it came to recycling. The design is understated but elegant. Clean lines, muscular shoulders, and the signature Audi grille that makes it look like it's cosplaying as a gas car. It's an EV that doesn't look like a traditional EV, and for that, I think it's pretty cool. Underneath, you get a 95 kilowatt hour battery pack and a curb weight of 5,765 pounds, roughly the same as a small studio apartment filled with Wayfair furniture. The e-tron isn't too great for aerodynamics either. It features a 0.30 drag coefficient, which is about the same as a Rivian R1T pickup. The result, 222 miles of EPA range. Not great. But in return, you get quattro all-wheel drive, a 10 to 80% charging time of under 30 minutes, and air suspension with up to 8.8 inches of ground clearance. The e-tron will do 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds thanks to two electric motors producing 402 horsepower. This car is what happens when you electrify old luxury. It's heavy, composed, yet loaded with luxury amenities, and it just happens to work. Around back, we get a power opening tailgate that reveals 28.5 cubic feet of cargo volume. Now, this is a little bit less than the Tesla Model Y with 29 cubic feet, and we also have a relatively high load floor area, so when you're loading stuff in the car, you do have to lift it up a little bit higher. But there is a method to Audi's madness. So if we look at this lower load floor area and lift it up, we will see that there is a full-blown spare tire sitting in this trunk area. Now, very few EVs on the market have spare tires. Obviously, this adds weight and takes up a lot of space, but it is a very convenient feature to have, especially if you do get a flat tire. Now, since we have this massive tire and wheel sitting in the trunk, we have to raise up the load floor to make room for it. We also get this tonneau cover and 4 aluminum anchors to secure down whatever stuff you have back here. Overall, it's pretty nicely appointed. While it doesn't look like there's a front trunk up here, there actually is. If you open up this somewhat flimsy feeling lid, we get 1.8 cubic feet of additional cargo volume. This means we get 30.3 cubic feet of total cargo space between the rear trunk and the front trunk in the Audi e-tron, and that's pretty solid. Next up is the interior, and we're gonna start off with the door thunk, which sounds really good. These seats are pretty spacious back here, and I think the seating position is pretty good, so I'm relatively comfortable back here. And these seats are made out of brown perforated leather. Now, this isn't the very high-end leather you get on some of the more expensive Audi models. It's a little more on the grainy side, though I think they're pretty comfortable. The two outboard seats are heated, and we get a lot of nice amenities back here. For instance, we have a center armrest with two slightly over-engineered cup holders. It's actually kind of cool how that works. And we do have a center console area with some storage. As for other amenities, we get a 4-zone climate control system located right here. That's really easy to use. You can also turn on the heated seats through that screen. And we get two USB-C ports located right below. In terms of the materials, I think it's generally nice. We do have some cheaper plastics surrounding the center console area, which I don't particularly love, though the door panel does feel really nice. So lots of soft touch materials on there, aluminum accents, and this door handle just feels really, really well built. The back seats of the Audi e-tron are pretty solid. Up front, the interior experience gets even better. We have a panoramic opening glass roof, open grain wood, and a nicely stitched dashboard. Everything looks and feels high quality up here, and the steering wheel is really nice to hold in the hand, and the aluminum accents just make it look very high end. We also get two cup holders, two USB-C ports, and the center console lid, which can actually slide forward, so when you're driving, it can be a little bit more ergonomic. If you opt for a Premium Plus trim like this right here, then you get heated and ventilated seats along with a 16-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, which is genuinely really, really good. It's got a lot of punch to it. If you can find a Prestige trim Audi e-tron, then you get massaging seats, a heated steering wheel, and an in-cabin fragrance disperser. So you can actually go onto the infotainment and select two different scents, winter or summer, and then they can diffuse throughout the cabin. Though if you get a Premium Plus like this one right here, you sadly don't get those amenities. Other than that, I'm really digging the interior on the Audi e-tron. The attention to detail is also really good, and even the window switches have this brushed aluminum look to them. It feels very premium. But nowadays, fit and finish only tells one part of the story. How's the software? As for software, we get three main screens. Starting off with the first one, this is for climate controls, and you can adjust the temperature, fan speed, etc. Now, these are haptic buttons, so if you just rest your finger on them, nothing happens. But then if you actually apply pressure, then you can increase the temperature. And it feels just like 3D touch on the older iPhones. We also get a physical volume knob located right there. So if you want to adjust the volume, it's really easy. Located just below this screen is our drive selector. So you push up for reverse, pull down for drive, and press in for park. It's very intuitive. Migrating upwards, we have our center display. Now, this is actually on our camera setting right now. There is a really good 3D view that gives us a 360 visual of the car, and honestly, I think it looks really high quality. But other than that, we do have our EV map located right here. This shows us our charging stations, and we can easily plan out an EV road trip. For instance, if we want to go to San Diego, we just type it in, press start, and then the car will calculate our route. Once the car does some thinking, it will let us know that we can't make it there on one charge. So we press OK, and then it will calculate in all our charging stops. And there we can easily see when and where we will need to stop the car to plug in and charge up. Off to the right, we can see a map of all our charging stops we need to make on our road trip all the way down to San Diego. We have our home screen located right here, and here we can adjust some vehicle settings. Specifically, if we press this drive select button right there, then we can change between all the various drive modes, adjust the air suspension, etc. This car also comes equipped with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of which can work wirelessly without a cable. So if you don't want to use this infotainment for whatever reason, you can project your phone. The one thing about this car that is really disappointing is in the charging settings. So you can set the maximum percentage you want the car to charge up to, which is pretty easy. So we simply click right here, and then we can change that from say 90 to 80%, etc. But there is no way to adjust the current coming into the battery. So if you're charging on level 1 or level 2 and you want to limit the current for whatever reason, maybe you're using an older breaker and you don't want to overload it, or perhaps you just want your car to charge a little bit slower on level 2, there's no way to adjust that setting. A lot of other EVs have an easy way to adjust this setting, but in the Audi e-tron, there is actually no way at all to change that setting. So that is a little disappointing in this car. The final screen is located right here, and this is our driver's gauge cluster. There's several different view options, and we can see lots of stuff like our range, our energy consumption, and we can even cycle over to see our map. So this is actually a really cool view, and we can zoom in or out with this little scroll wheel so we can see our full road trip all the way down the coast of California. I think this gauge cluster looks really nice. There's not a ton of customizability to it, though you are able to let it display a lot of the vital information like your map, speed, power output, all that sort of stuff. Overall, I think Audi's infotainment is pretty good in the e-tron. It's not overflowing with features like a Tesla or a Rivian is, but I think it gets the job done for the most part. It's easy to use, relatively intuitive, and we have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The haptics are a really nice touch, and everything feels pretty simple to use. If you're looking for a car that has just enough tech, I think you'd be pretty happy with the e-tron. As for charging and range, the Audi e-tron uses a 95 kilowatt hour battery pack, and of which 86.5 of those kilowatt hours are usable. This delivers an EPA range of 222 miles, which is definitely on the lower side for a vehicle with such a large battery pack. But the e-tron does have a lot of redeeming factors when it comes to the charging. The first one is that there are two charging ports, one on the right side and one on the left side. But the really cool feature is just how quickly this Audi e-tron can charge. On a DC fast charger, the Audi e-tron can accept up to 150 kilowatts, which honestly isn't that notable for 2025. But it's the area under the curve that matters, and the Audi e-tron has a really flat charging curve. This means we can get a 10 to 80% charge time of under 30 minutes. For a 400 volt EV, this is honestly a really good charging time. And what's really funny is if you get the newer Audi Q8 e-tron, it has a different battery cell chemistry and configuration. And with that battery pack, it actually has a worse charging curve than the original Audi e-tron. So that's pretty cool to know. Regardless, if you're taking the e-tron on a road trip, you're going to need to make more charging stops than you would in some other EVs on the market, say a Mustang Mach-E, but at least this car can charge pretty quickly. But you're not buying the Audi e-tron because you want a car that you're going to drive from California to New York in. You're buying this car because you want something comfortable, relaxing, and luxurious. And that all lies within the driving experience. So let's check that out. Driving the Audi e-tron. So right now I'm in an urban/suburban environment, presumably on my way to go to Whole Foods to purchase some yerba mate. But anyways, as I'm driving on this route, the e-tron is very, very comfortable. It's super quiet in the city. The suspension is very forgiving, and it just makes this car very, very relaxing. In terms of one pedal driving and braking, the Audi e-tron doesn't have a creep mode like a lot of other Volkswagen EV products. So if you're in a parking lot, you put the car in drive, it's not going to creep forward. But this car doesn't really have true one pedal driving either. So you can adjust the amount of regen on these paddle shifters, and there's really only two notches. Technically there's three. So you have no regen at all, a little bit of regen, and a little bit more. But it's definitely not enough to make this car drive like a regular one pedal driving EV. It's just not strong enough. The regen braking does a decent job of slowing you down, though usually when you need to get into the lower speed ranges, you will have to press on the brake pedal, which does add more regen. So in the Audi e-tron, when you do press on the brake pedal, you are applying more regen up to a certain point of deceleration, and then it will add in the friction brakes. But I do really appreciate that the brake pedal feels very well calibrated in this car. It's not jerky or lurchy or anything like that. And the accelerator also feels very well calibrated. So the transition between acceleration, regen, and friction brakes is all really, really buttery smooth. I like that a lot. In terms of power, the Audi e-tron normally makes 335 horsepower. That's when you are in drive. But what you can do in the Audi e-tron is if you pull back on the drive selector, you can put the car into S mode, and that will unlock the full 402 horsepower. So if we go into launch mode, left foot on the brake pedal, right foot on the accelerator, and you can let go, and the car accelerates. This isn't a very intense launch control, but the car will get up to speed relatively quickly. And yeah, I mean, it's plenty of power for what this vehicle is, not like anything crazy, but the Audi e-tron does have launch mode. If you're driving at around maybe 30 to 50 miles per hour and you floor the accelerator, the Audi e-tron has a pretty good kick of torque. And what's really fun about this car is just because the suspension is a lot softer in here than a lot of other cars on the road, when you do accelerate, you can really feel the load transfer to the back of the car, and it's honestly kind of fun. Now, driving on some curvier roads, the e-tron actually has pretty decent handling. Obviously, this car is heavy and you can kind of feel that, but overall, the road holding abilities on this car are somewhat impressive for how large this vehicle is. Yeah. Definitely not a sports car, but I'm pretty impressed. Now we're on the highway, and this is where the Audi e-tron really excels. This car is quiet. Now, you might be hearing some more noise right now just because the stretch of road we're on is a little rough, but when I did measure the sound in the cabin a little while earlier on a smoother stretch of road, we were looking at 62 decibels. That is insanely quiet. That's BMW i5 level, like very nice luxury sedan levels of quietness in this SUV. And it's always impressive when an SUV is this quiet because there's so much open interior volume, as you can see. Whereas in a sedan, you have basically just the passenger cabin, and then the trunk is chopped off. So that's separate from the main cabin. And then obviously the cabin can be a lot quieter because if you have a noise, it won't be spreading and permeating throughout all this interior volume. In terms of semi-autonomous driving amenities, we get lane centering and adaptive cruise control. So when you turn this on, you can actually take your hands off the wheel for around maybe 15 seconds before Audi will tell you to put your hands back on. But the system has worked really, really well. I've been very impressed with this system. It seems kind of similar to Volkswagen's Travel Assist, though I like this a lot better because in Volkswagen's Travel Assist, it will actually slam on the brakes for like a split second if your hands are off the wheel for about like 15 seconds, where this system doesn't do that. So that's really annoying in Volkswagen, but it doesn't do that in the Audi, and I like that. This system also allows for concurrent steering, so I can make small steering adjustments to override the system, and it won't disengage the lane centering. So right now, this guy's a little close to me on my right. I can take the left portion of the lane, then let go of the steering wheel, and now we are centered once again. One slightly annoying thing though is that whenever I turn on the regen braking setting, so whenever I increase it and then I put on adaptive cruise control and then turn off adaptive cruise control, it totally forgets whatever my regen setting was. So then I'll turn off adaptive cruise control and expect the car to decelerate when I let off the accelerator, but then it doesn't do that. So I don't really know what they were thinking there. But other than that, the e-tron is a very, very comfortable highway cruiser, and with the semi-autonomous driving functionality and the quiet cabin, this car really rocks. You will not find a better driving, and I won't even say EV, I will say better driving car because of how smooth this car drives. You're not in a gas car with a transmission that you're shifting through gears, etc. You will not find a better driving car than the Audi e-tron for under, I could even say $35,000. And you can get a lot of these e-trons for around $25,000 like this one right here. So you can spend $10,000 more and you are not going to find a car that is as comfortable and nice to drive as the e-tron. The e-tron is really an anomaly in the automotive market. The luxury driving experience to price ratio in this car is absolutely off the charts. And that was the Audi e-tron. In my opinion, the most underrated used luxury car of all time. Now, this car isn't without fault. The Audi e-tron is a fantastic car, but it is prone to some more issues. So especially if you're buying one used, I'd really recommend finding one that's certified pre-owned or opting for an additional warranty. This car is generally reliable, though there are a few issues like the front drive unit on some of the older models, specifically the 2019s, that just have an issue with coolant. So the motors get really, really hot, and then the car will basically brick itself and leave you with an expensive repair bill. So if you're looking for an Audi e-tron, it's better to opt for newer ones with lower miles, particularly under the basic warranty, and then that gives you time to think if an extended warranty is really worth it for you. But for those who are interested, the Audi e-tron is understated, comfortable, quiet, and it has the build quality of a frickin' bunker. With all-wheel drive and up to 8.8 inches of ground clearance, it has the functionality to match the looks. From ventilated seats to a Bang & Olufsen sound system, the cost-to-car ratio here is absolutely off the charts. The Audi e-tron is the equivalent of buying Arc'teryx gear on a flash sale. Still premium, still looks very expensive, just now attainable to whoever's left in the middle class of America. If you enjoyed today's video, hooray! You've passed the first stage of Evercar's indoctrination. Hit subscribe to proceed. Thank you for watching.